Hi, Miss Mertes. Welcome to Let's Talk Computer Science. Today, Miss Mertes is joining me on our podcast. Miss Mertes graduated with a bachelor's degree in history, political science, Latin, and secondary education. She holds two master's degrees, one in history and constitutional studies, and another one in education and curriculum and digital education. She also holds a degree in instructional technology administration. She is also working on her doctorate in educational leadership and policy analysis, leadership, digital learning, innovations, micro-credentialing, and personalized learning in practice from University of Wisconsin-Madison. She is currently working as an assistant director of teaching and learning at Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction. In her current role, she leads all future ready state digital learning and instructional media projects to serve the entire Wisconsin K12 schools. She also provides a leadership role with the Wisconsin Digital Learning Collaborative, WDLC, online blended learning projects, Digital Learning Advisory Council, DLAC, instructional strategic planning, digital cyber safety, personalized learning initiatives, computer science, virtual learning time, and she also provided COVID-19 support. In her role, she also serves as a liaison to the following national organizations: State Education Technology Directors Association, SCTDA. She's also a board member of SEDA and also a treasurer. And she also serves as the liaison for Wisconsin Education Technology Leaders, WETL. She's also a board member, State Causen chapter. I don't know if I said that right. Wisconsin Education and Media Technology Association, WEMTA, State ISTE chapter, Aurora, and U.S. Department of Educational Technology. Wow. She also worked at few other roles. She started her career at NBPTS as a social studies educator for 19 years. She was a member of Supreme Court Justice Sandra Day iCivics teacher team as well. Wow. Oh my God, that's such an amazing journey. I haven't met many people like you. I'm so fortunate to talk to you, Ms. Mertes, today. Thank you so much for being on our podcast.
Thank you for that kind introduction. As you talked about what I've done in my lifetime, I will say that working for the Department of Public Instruction since 2012 has been the culminating experience and really one of the most important roles I think I've had personally to be able to do the work that the agency is willing to do. So.
Yep. Tell us more about your current work and how did you get to where you are today?
Sure. So as you mentioned, my past career was a classroom social studies teacher, but in that role, I also worked on implementing local district solutions, designing a classroom of the future with new construction, but also watching the world change as far as what access our students had to technology. I often laugh. In 1995, I went to an in-service at Madison. It was on the internet, and the district sent me and said, well, someday this may have influence on education. So I think just even my own journey through education, looking at the experiences that students have, has really guided me. And in my current role as Assistant Director of Teaching and Learning and really the leader of all the digital learning projects for our agency in our state, it's really just the times we're in relative to what are our students and schools need relative to this work, and the ability for us to think about programming supports and visioning to support our districts. And again, we represent the whole state. So we represent our rural students, our urban students, our underrepresented students. And when we think about the work we're currently doing with computer science, it's how do we equitably offer and support students across the state of Wisconsin to have access to this programming K-12. So I think I have one of the coolest jobs in the world relative to being able to look to the future, but also being able to work with amazing strategic partners, and also on behalf of our state superintendent's office to implement Dr. Jill Underly's vision and support for our schools. And computer science is the emerging topic. And COVID not only kind of put us in that situation relative to digital literacy skills, but also the transformation of industry and the workforce is going to guide why this is really important for our future workers of the world.
Yep, totally agree. Can you please tell us more about the work that you're doing on the computer science?
Sure. So Wisconsin was one of the early adopter of computer science standards back in 2017. And since then, we have also updated our digital literacy standards, our math standards, and we're really looking at this as a integrated content approach, which again aligns with our vision of our state superintendent to think about experiences for all students K-12 through other content areas, but also then peer pathways into digital technology careers or AP computer science pathways. So we started to formulate, like many other states are, what is the role of state agency in this? And many other states had created state plans. We are in the process of getting ready to release that. So I think this is going live next Tuesday. Our state superintendent will be making a few comments, and in 2 weeks, we'll be able to release that plan publicly. But it really is going to lay out our foundational beliefs about why is computer science important. And when we think about computer science, we also think about it as basic computational thinking, problem solving, and also realize that the words we use today, the vocabulary could change next week. That's how fast this area is growing. So we're also formatting this in a way that allows for growth and flexibility. But we are also then supporting our districts with regional implementation support teams through our CSIS. We have 12 of them in the state. To be able to align and help support curricular scope and sequence decisions and planning around how do I think about adding these programming supports into our current offerings for students? How do we get trained teachers and licensed teachers as well, who are our strategic partners? So it's really been a fun project in the midst of all of our COVID support. But also COVID elevated the reality that the world is changing and will forever be changed. And the role of computer science, technology skills, digital literacy skills for students, that's an essential core skill that we need to support our schools in providing. And I know, again, on behalf of our state superintendent's office, looking at elevating this as how can we support you? How can we remove barriers? How can we equitably get underrepresented students in these career pathways or curricular offerings to make sure that everyone has the economic options of the future in some of these careers?
Yep, excellent. That is very near and dear to my heart, and I'm super happy that this is happening. So can you talk about how can schools increase computer science education?
Sure. So our approach really is thinking about it K-12. So, traditionally when people hear computer science, they're like, oh, those are just high school classes. But in fact, we have computer science courses available already in middle school. But we want to think lower, because I think about my niece during COVID, and as a first grader, she could upload a file, she could operate the computer, she could operate Zoom better than most adults, right? So there's a skill set there to think about not only the use of technology, but now getting into more of that thinking. We're really fortunate in our state that our math leaders are saying that within math, K-12, there are concepts of computer science Same thing with science. When we think about STEM, engineering, and again, these digital literacy skills. So we want districts to think about it as a cross-curricular integration option as they create more pathways of learning, very customized and personalized to what students want, and also the emerging courses around this. So when we think about computer science, other topics that are emerging, data science, AI, cybersecurity, those topics all come into play, that they're all technology based. And we have a very robust academic career plan program that we're aligning to with digital technology pathway careers. So it is important for districts to realize what are the gaps in what they're offering. They may not be able to offer it. So we have a lot of strategic partners in technical schools and higher education that are opening up courseware options to our high school students. We have some great after school and community providers that are tapping into underrepresented students and lining up mentors. So when we think about career development, we need mentorship programs relative to being able to show that these are career pathways open regardless of gender, ethnicity, race, location. And one of the great things out of COVID was the ability to leverage virtual learning and virtual connection in new ways. So we also are developing virtual job shadows, virtual internships, but also interviews and resources where, you know, if a community doesn't have these jobs in their community, we can get virtually tapped into people talking about this. Because again, with technology, that also means where you work can be very mobile, but we also, again, want people exposed to these opportunities. So it's a multi-pronged approach to awareness, opportunity pathways, but also promotion of this as an essential core literacy for our students going forward. And again, for schools to be able to customize, what does that look like within their school? What does it look like for their community? Who are their community partners? Who are their regional partners? And what opportunities are available to students through formal learning and informal learning? And I think, you know, we are coming in with a very open mind. And again, knowing the role our state superintendent has played when she was in a district, bringing the first AP computer science courses to a rural district. I mean, very inspirational relative to why this was generated from student interest, but then also looking at earlier exposure so you can get students on a pathway in those earlier grades. And again, have them see what's available in the world. So the partnership part of this is huge. And again, in 2 weeks, we'll launch that plan, but it's far from complete. It's a work in progress. But there's a lot of excitement and recognition, just like many other states when they wrote a plan, to say, what is our stake in it? What do we need relative to this? And how are we going to help support our schools?
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I'm super excited with so many things that you have mentioned in this answer. Like one of them is introducing computer science early on elementary, and you also talked about equity in computer science. Like those go hand in hand. If we can introduce computer science early on in elementary school, when girls are not biased, when no one is biased about computer science, that it's for special kind of kids, it's way more. I think there'll be more folks who will take computer science in high school if it is introduced in elementary. So that'll be amazing. And also like integrating into math, science as English will definitely help the whole elementary setting.
Yeah, I mean, we have a high success rate of students who participate in Hour of Code, you know, and the resources that are available through those providers. And next week being Computer Science Week, you know, schools do take the time to recognize it, but we also are trying to strive that it's not just a one and done, that you do an hour during 1 week of the year, right? You think about it as a longer opportunity. And again, the resources that are being developed available to schools, I mean, it's amazing what schools have access to, that they can help. And it doesn't mean the teacher has to be the ultimate expert. You have to be able to help facilitate students through the resources. But our students are pretty savvy with this as well. And we also know that some of the resources are available in multiple languages, right? So Hour of Code in Spanish resources are available, and some of the schools have really tapped into making sure that they're bringing those resources into the schools.
Yep. Yes, totally. Uh, so what do you think? I mean, you touched on this a little bit. Can you expand a little bit more on the ideal solutions for resources that are needed to help to improve or increase computer science education?
Sure. The way we're addressing it in our plan from a multiple prong approach is, how do we help take away barriers or have districts identify gap areas where we can assist with information? So, and again, speaking on behalf of the state superintendent relative to some of the things she stated in her early interview when she was running for state superintendent, licensing is an issue. And the idea is we are demonstrating flexibility by the way we're approaching it through multiple content areas. So math, career and technical education, and digital literacy. Schools also have the flexibility of where to place potential peer courses or, again, integration of those course materials. So that's a really important perspective from licensing. As we can imagine that, if you are majoring in computer science, you're probably not going to be an educator because economically you probably can do some other things. But we also have the ability to think about if you can't get a pure computer science teacher, we do have virtual school partners who have those offerings. We've had districts put together a consortium of districts where they share teachers across district lines. And then we also have the TEALS program where workforce experts can be mentors coming in supporting local teachers who are implementing some of this and be some of those content experts relative to the actual computer science. So licensing is one area where we are continually evolving how we support schools, and we do a lot of one-on-one calls with districts relative to they want to develop a course on AI. They want to think about this, where do I put it? What is the licensing need and transcripting? So that's one area. As far as the planning, again, we're addressing that from the solution of our 12 CSAs. And we're using the CS for All script materials and national support. So we have trained about 24 people in the last 6 months to be regional supports, and they're able to offer at no cost for the next couple of years supports to schools relative to how do you build a plan? How do you identify your focus areas? How do I think about this as a K12 solution, not a 1 year only for student access? The other part of that also then is our Institutes of Higher Ed partnerships, and that's an evolving dialogue about access of courses and options for students, whether it's summer programming, additional enrichment programming, part of their course schedule. There's lots of different ways that those partnerships can work, and districts can identify course options for students. And then also thinking about content, we will be putting together a repository of resources relative to, just kind of curating options for local teachers and having them help promote what is a good resource to use. And then teacher training in general. So we have a long history in the state with different providers and in different avenues with state leaders on teacher training around coding, around basic computer science. So I think it's a matter of just making sure everyone's aware of what's available. But again, we're also making the connection to our academic career planning as far as student interest, exposure to workforce opportunities. But again, I think we're also driving that economic equity factor, right? That we have this as pathways for all students. And again, that's why programs, after school programming, communities programs are really essential, and why the mentorship programs are so important. So it's also just kind of cataloging what's available in our state and how do we think about how we get resources to where we need to get them. And again, on behalf of our state superintendent's office, as we carry this work forward on behalf of the agency, how are we adaptive to what schools are asking for to find solutions, to be part of that solution, but also elevate and highlight areas of greatness that are already happening in our state and keep building on that. So this is a project that doesn't have an end date in my mind because it's evolving based on what society needs and making sure students are future ready for the world of work and their interests.
Yep, totally makes sense. This is awesome. What you guys are doing is very much needed. So any final words?
Just that, we are so appreciative that we already have some great work going on, in the CISA 1, Milwaukee 7 area, Southeast Wisconsin, Green Bay area. So we just want to evolve the great work that areas are doing, and also create a professional learning network and community among different supports for our state. This definitely is an economic development interest. It also, I think, is a bipartisan interest, right? So as we think about attracting companies and opportunities and jobs to our state, I think when Amazon was looking at putting a warehouse down in Southeast Wisconsin, some of their questions related to how many AP computer science tests are taken in your state, or how many districts offer AP computer science, or universities. So that whole economic development landscape of this, I think, is vital for us to be part of that dialogue with our other state agency partners and the governor's office. We will have a proclamation for Computer Science Week next week from the governor's office as well, highlighting some of that. Also, our partners of higher ed are continually evolving. UW-Madison recently announced the creation of the data information, or computer science data information science school. So the idea that, these are some of the fastest growing majors on campuses, and it's not pure majors, they're usually double or triple majors by students. This is part of that work around entrepreneurship. It's part of the work around, again, future skills, but we also see different pathways. So the role of our technical schools in this work, we're seeing more and more program offerings already available to high school students to already get some of the work on those advanced degrees done and have access, and also some of the recruiting work that's going on. So we're just fortunate that we have such a rich network of educational leaders in our state. And again, on behalf of the agency and the state superintendent, bringing us into that work and connection across all these options is really vital. And it's really great work. And we, again, analyzed what other states were doing, but made sure it fit with what we are able to do in Wisconsin and what our schools are asking from us.
Yep. Yeah, I truly appreciate everything that you're doing for the state. And making this a priority and spending so much of your time and hours and your team. So I'm sure there'll be more Amazons coming our way as we increase our numbers in computer science. So I'm Sandy Padala. I'm founder at Rex Academy. Rex Academy is a one-stop solution for all K12 computer science learning needs. We are also all about equity in computer science. Our browser-based platform, self-paced curriculum, seamless integration into existing school systems, collaborative platform for teachers and professional development. And we are just starting providing remote CS teachers and 24/7 live support, learning support. So we are also working to remove all the roadblocks that exist for computer science education. And you have touched on everything, and your plan also is touching on every roadblock. So that's amazing what you're creating. Thank you so much.
Thank you.